Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that was suggested by a commenter a few weeks back on one of my videos. And the topic is your UI, how to use it more effectively. So I'm going to go over hotbar usage, I'm going to go over key mapping, I'm going to go over picking out and using a UI theme. I'm going to tell you guys what I do. Maybe you'll get a few tips along the way. Maybe it'll help you out. Maybe it won't help you out. But if nothing else, it'll at least throw some more ideas your way and give you some more thoughts on the topic. Also, I'll go over just some basic stuff like how to key map and things like that at the end of the video, just for you guys who listen to my videos who are new players who might not understand how to properly set up and organize your hotbars. Let's start out talking about hotbars. Now, there's a lot of different opinions on hotbars, how many you should have, how many you shouldn't have. Some people love tons of hotbars, some people like to keep it simple. But the main thing with hotbars is you want to organize your spells and items in a way that makes sense to you. You want to do what works for your personal style. Everyone's going to have their own style because everyone thinks differently. Also, the number of hotbars you're going to have depends a lot on your class. For example, a wizard has tons of spells, so they're going to have a lot more. They're going to want to have more hotbars than, say, a fighter or a barbarian who doesn't have any spells. The thing with hotbars is the more you have, the more options you have at your fingertips. The more spells, the more items, the more clickies you can access immediately. On the downside, the more hotbars you have, the more confusing things get, the harder it is to find stuff on your UI. So there's a give and a take there, and you want to find a number that works for you. But no matter how many hotbars you have, one thing to keep in mind is you want to organize your hotbars in a way that gives you the quickest, most convenient access to your most important or most used spells and abilities and clickies. For example, some of my most important abilities are my displacement clickies and my raise dead spells, because when someone goes down, I'm in a tough situation, I want to easily be able to find and locate my raise dead spells so I can get those people back up and living as soon as possible. So that's why I have these right here in a centralized location. My eyes tend to drift towards the chat box and towards the left side of the screen. So in these four hotbars right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I place my most critical abilities and my most used abilities. On the other hand, stuff I don't use very often, I put to the right here. So I put, say, my snowballs, which I just pull out every once in a while to mess around. Or, say, my stances here, which I have to click once per login, like power attack and auto attack. Don't need to use those very often. They're not critical abilities that I'm going to have to access now, so I put them out of the way. Now I'm going to go through my hotbars and explain why I put everything where I put it, and I'm going to explain my general thought process in organizing my hotbars. So let's start just here on the left. Like I said, for whatever reason, my eyes tend to naturally drift to the bottom left-hand side of the screen, probably because I'm always constantly monitoring party chat. And that's why I put my most important and most used spells and abilities here in these first four hotbars. Now, other people might have their eyes might more naturally drift to the center of the screen, so they might want to put the most important abilities here in the middle. Others might want to put them on the top, so that's the closest to their mouse cursor. It's up to you. Whatever works for you, do it. I try to organize my spells and abilities that are similar to each other in one area. So my party buffs that are used are up here. So the only ones that are really worth casting I keep here in one group. My Death Ward Mass, my Magic Circle Against Evil, and Shield of Faith, while it's not really that great of a spell, I tend to just throw it anyways. Same with Hero's Feast. You know, it's not great, but they have some use. So I keep those there just for easy access because I tend to throw these at the beginning of a quest. Going on further, these are kind of my drag to hotbar things. If I want to say this is Mass Restoration, I keep this here just for easy access because I've been running some Necro 4 lately, and Mass Restoration is a great spell to have in the Ghost of Perdition quest. because it can instantly remove con damage, and it's also useful to have in the Shroud at the end fights because the party members also get hit with con damage. But these are kind of my pooled health bar stuff. My Blade Barrier, it's not very good in epics. Great in heroics, not very good in epics, but I keep it here just in case I need it for kiting or in case I want to use it for favor runs or something, just to Zerg. My Blur Wand, this really shouldn't be here. It's there in case I can't wear my permablur item, my torque, so I might want to drag this and use it. Again, it probably shouldn't be there, but for whatever reason it's sitting there right now. My remove fear, again, is kind of there in case I need to bring it to my hotbar for party members who might not have fear immunity, say if I'm running a lot of Necro 4, which I have been running lately. These right here, these are not very critical, these scrolls, but these I want to have on me to cast in case I need them through UMD, like Greater Heroism, and Shadow Walk for if I want to, get to a quest without getting attacked or something. Like I explained earlier, right here, these are my displacement clickies. These are critical abilities that I want to have quick access to, so I keep them right here in a centralized location. The same with the Raised Dead spells and the Raised Dead scrolls. These bottom two hotbars, these are my active abilities right here. I'll get to these when I talk about key mapping a little later in the video, so I won't cover these. Here on the right, these are abilities that are important, but I put them kind of down in this location because they aren't quite as important as some of these others. So I've got my Radiance Lure Scepter, which is just there in case I need to dot something, and the only reason that's there is because I've been running a lot of spies in the house, and often I dot the fire elementals because they're out of range and I have to, so I'll equip this real quick. These are my alternative weapons. I just keep these here in case my weapons break. This I have my I keep this on my hotbar at key number 8. This is my wearable displacement clicky, which is also my 45 HP item. So I always have this on, and this provides my 8 key with an easy way to click and get displacement on. This is Symbol of Death here at number 9. I don't use this often. Well, I do use it sometimes, not a whole lot, very often, but it's still an ability I use more than others, so I keep it here. And then Aura, I always keep on 0 because 0, just for whatever reason, is a very easy button click for me, so I like to keep it here on 0. But that's just personal preference. Let's move on to the middle hotbar here, and as we go further to the right, these are abilities that I generally use less often and that are less critical. These are a bit critical. I mean, Death Ward, of course, and Night Shield and Protection from Evil are important, but I only use these versions when I'm not using a mass version, and then Night Shield I only need to use if there's a lot of monsters spamming Magic Missile in the quest. Otherwise, I don't use it. What else? We've got my my Shadow Dragon Plate for my Shadow Phase clicky. This is in a fairly centralized, easy to access location, because if you get surrounded by mobs, you want to be able to quickly click this clicky for Shadow Phase, which lets you pass directly through mobs. This is a somewhat critical ability, Unyielding Sovereignty. If I die, I want quick access to this because it lets me remove negative level or death penalties. I'm sorry. These are my swappables here. I've got an Invis clicky and my Torque in case I'm low on SP. What else? These are some of my other self buffs, which I use sometimes, like True Seeing, Freedom Movement. What else? We've got our restorations. Honestly, I should probably bring these up a little bit more towards the top. Although I don't have to use them too often because I have my burst, but I have all 3 restorations here in case I need to use it. I've got all my potions here in case I get hit with some kind of effect. These aren't used all the time, but they definitely aren't my least used clickies or abilities, so I keep them here in the center. I've got a Greater Heroism clicky here for my belt, and also my water breathing item, which I need to swap to occasionally. I've got my boots here, my swappables. I've got my my Fire Absorb in case I'm running Fire Peaks, and I've got my Caneth boots for whenever I need to jump quickly over a over a distance or something. There's a lot of uses for Caneth boots. If I need to jump to use something, I'll swap these on. My Searing Light here, that's just there to give me another option in case an enemy is out of range and I can't melee it. So as you can see, I try to keep everything organized and in the same area. So all my boot clickies are near each other, all my belt clickies are near each other, so that I don't accidentally have the wrong item equipped at the wrong time. Same with my necklace. I keep them all in the same area just to keep organized. The same with my self buffs. My single buffs I keep in one area, and I keep my group buffs in another area by themselves. My potions I all keep together. So all this stuff, just keep it. When you organize your health bars, keep everything, your hot bars, I keep saying health bars. When you're organizing your hot bars, just make sure you group stuff in a way that the similar items are in the same area. So I've got my goggle clickies over here. These are my epic glimpse of the soul in case I'm running Necro 4 and I want to be immune to intercession. I've got my thrower here. You know, these are the less critical abilities as we keep going right. I've got my teleport clickies, greater teleport clicky here, or not clickies, but scrolls. And these are my trinket swaps over here. I've got my my planar focus of prowess, which is just there for the insightful con, and I'm only wearing that because I haven't gotten my epic litany yet. I've got my voice of the master and to swap to when I need to, and my shamanic fetish just for the radiance whenever I need to dot something because it's out of range. Then we've got our resists here, which, you know, I got to use sometimes when someone doesn't have the divine resistance buff. So I keep all these in one location, and I also organize them by which I'm using the most often. So I tend to use fire and electricity the most often, so I keep these most to the left, and the ones I use the least, like cold and sonic, I keep more towards the right. And as I explained earlier, I've got all my stances here in one area just so I can see and verify that they're all on. I've got to keep power attack and auto attack on my hotbars, because if you log in, they get turned off. If you die, they get turned off. So you've got to make sure these are all always on here so you can click them. You also want to be able to monitor to see if they've been turned off. And over to the right here, these are this is more hotbar stuff, or more key mapping stuff than hotbar stuff. But I keep this other hotbar here on the right side of the screen just so I can monitor some of my other abilities. This is just my personal style. I just like having one here on the right, and it has a lot of abilities that are a little too dangerous for me to keep on my regular 12 hotbars in the middle here. Stuff like Word of Recall. I don't want to keep that on a regular hotbar down here, because if I accidentally click it, you know, I'm teleported out of the quest accidentally, and that sucks. I've done that before. It's really embarrassing, and I don't want to click it. It's really a dangerous thing to have on your hotbar, which is why I keep it here to the right side of the screen. The same with my Evening Star key. I don't want to click that accidentally, because it'll, even though I can move and get out of the teleport, it'll put it on a 10-minute cooldown, which is really annoying. My mnemonic pots, I don't want to accidentally click these and waste them. They're very expensive, so I keep these here out of the way. And then these are my kind of active combat abilities, which I'll talk about just in a minute when I get on to key mapping. Let's move on to key mapping. Now, when key mapping, your most important keys are going to be your number keys, 1 through 5, because those are going to be right above your movement keys, your WASD. It's going to be easiest to access, so you're going to want to put your most critical, most used abilities in your 1 through 5. Now, I am a big believer in putting your best healing option at your number 1. So I keep Burst here. It's my go-to self-heal and group healing option for my build. Now you might want to put, say, your Reconstruct option here. For my Wizard Pale Master, I put my negative energy burst here because it's kind of my oh crap heal button. But I'm a big believer in your number 1 key, putting your most critical life-saving heal here, because when your health gets really low, when you get into a really tough situation, you want very quick access to your best self-healing ability. 2, now for this build, this is a healer build, so I put heal here as well. I want to have 2 healing options. And heal I need easy access to because it's my secondary self-healing option when bursts on cooldown. It's also an ability I use a lot if I need to heal another party member. My 3 through 5 are my cleaves, my momentum swing. They're abilities I use all the time. This is a cleaving build, so they're constantly on cooldown, and that's why they are on my easiest to access keys. Now, I stop at 5 because for me, I think 6 is a little bit too far to reach, and I can't really hit the key consistently. Now, if you have huge hands, maybe 6, you can use the 6 key. I can't. So in addition to my 1 through 5 keys, I have 5 other abilities right above it that I use for also use for my 1 through 5 keys, but these are my shift plus 1 through 5 keys. So if I hit shift 1, it'll use this exalted smite ability. And these are my abilities that are extremely important, but not quite as important as my 1 through 5. So I have shift 1 for exalted smite. I use that all the time, but it's not quite as key as my cleaves. I don't use it quite as much as my cleaves. I've got heal scrolls, which is kind of my 3rd or 4th option for self-healing, but it's something that I use often enough to justify putting it on my health bar. Now my shift 3, I typically don't have blade barrier here. This is kind of my my hotbar key that kind of moves depending on what destiny I'm in or what I'm doing in the game. Right now I have blade barrier here because it's the first day of the Mimic Hunt, and I've been farming some low-level quests. So Blade Bearer is just kind of my mass kill everything around me when I'm running a low-level quest. But typically, if I'm running a high-level or at-level quest, whatever, I won't have Blade Bearer here. I don't use it much. I'll have something else here. My Shift 4. This is my secondary group healing option for when bursts are on cooldown. That's why I have it at Shift 4. It's my critical. And then Lay Waste, which is my other cleave type ability, which I use a lot but not as often as my regular cleaves. Now I stop there with my 1 through 5 keys. If you want to add a 3rd row, you could even use your control key or maybe your caps lock key for a 3rd and 4th row, but I don't find that necessary. It makes things a little too complicated. I prefer just sticking to my 1 through 5 and shift 1 through 5. I think with those 10 hotkeys I can fit my 10 most used abilities, most useful abilities, and I don't feel a need to fit any more on. Now there's also some other important key mapping things that I do. I always have my X key to my self-target. I found it very useful because oftentimes you'll have to self-target yourself for maybe for a quick heal scroll, something like that, maybe for a self-heal or something, and to me it's a lot faster than clicking on yourself. I also map my E key to my interact option. It's really useful to do this. That's one thing you definitely want to do. Having your E key as your item interact lets you quickly open doors, open chests, pick up remnants, whatever you need to do quickly without having to click your mouse. So definitely I recommend mapping your E key to your item interact option. I also map my J through semicolon keys to these abilities over here on the right hand part of the screen you see here. I actually start with my G key. My G key is my tensors, scrolls, my H key is my master's blitz, and then my J key is divine might, K key is divine favor, and then I've got my haste boost and damage boost here, and that puts all of my combat buff options in one synchronized area. When you type, your hand naturally rests on the J key if you learn or know how to type. That's why I put these abilities right there. It's a centralized location that my hand naturally will go to, and it lets me hit all those keys at once and activate all my combat abilities in succession just like that. So that's why I do that. Let's move on to your key mapping menus and options. Now, to get to your key mapping options, go to the options menu and click on UI settings, and there's a whole menu here that will allow you to customize your UI, your user interface, in a way that is pleasing to your eye. All kinds of options here. I'm obviously not going to go through all of them, but one thing I wanted to point out to you is the current user skin. Now, a lot of new players don't know about this, but you can actually customize the look of all these menus. See if you can see, my menus are black. They look a little bit different from your standard. Now, there's some different websites where you can download custom user skins. I'll put a link in the description to this video of the website I used to where I got my skin, and also put a link in the description to instructions on how to download and install a DDO custom user skin. But just to see the difference, it has an effect on your hotbars and the color of some of your menus. I like Blackbird because just the theme is a little more pleasing to me. It shrinks your hotbars a little bit. I think it makes things look a little less cluttered. But just to show you the difference, I'll turn on the default skin, and it's going to change the look of all my menus here as soon as it loads. See now I've got this annoying gold border again. My keys look a little bit different. When you have the standard skin on, it puts these little carrots around the item you have selected instead of highlighting them green. I don't really like that. I think the Blackbird is a lot more pleasing, but there's tons of different UIs out there, so check them out, preview them, and download one that's more pleasing to you. I want to close out the video with a basic how-to on key mapping. For you vets who are listening to this video, you'll already know how to do this, but it's such an important thing to know. I wanted to include it in the video for any new players that might be watching. Just to clarify, key mapping is when you assign a slot on one of your hotbars to a specific key on your keyboard. So just to show you how it's done, let's pick out a slot that's not being used right now on my hotbar. We're going to pick slot number 5 on hotbar number 4. Right here. So if I want to map this key, I need to go to the options menu, go to my key mapping section, and we're going to scroll down until we find a button that says shortcut bar number 4 and slot number 5, and it's right here. So once you find the right button for the key you want to map, you'll just click it like I just did, and this menu will come up, and it'll just tell you that the next button you hit on your keyboard will be mapped to that slot. So say I want to, for example, assign maybe the Y key on my keyboard to this cell. I'll hit Y, and once I hit Y, it is now mapped to this cell. So as you can see, where the 5 used to be, the Y key has now shown up in its place. So now, whenever whatever ability item clicky is in this slot, will be selected and used whenever I hit the Y key on my keyboard. So, say I want fire resist fire there. Now, whenever I hit the Y key, I'll use that ability or that spell. So there you go. That's a basic how-to on how to key map, and that's how you'll key map all of your abilities on all your hotbars that you desire to be key mapped. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's a topic that you want to hear me give my thoughts on, please leave a comment and let me know. I'm always looking for new ideas. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe and tell your DDO friends and guildies about my channel. Thanks for watching.